talking Illinois high school football.
If your goals are as high as you talk about, tonight's the night you go out and just take one more step.
It's a view from the West.
And it starts right now!
Welcome into View from the West podcast. I'm Greg Armstrong, joined by my co-host Mitch Stormer. View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football on the western part of the state. Mitch, welcome in. Have you survived Dead Week? You're here. We're ready to go now.
Yeah, the weather certainly has brought back the feelings of what the first week of practices would feel like. So I feel like I'm getting, ready for the start of the season. But yeah, it's hard to imagine that we're already here, that we're going to be seeing, maybe not players in full pads just yet, but we're going to have athletes on the fields across our area. And boy, it's just, we've got previews coming up already. And it just seems like clearly every day is one day closer to the season, but I feel like that's going to be here a lot quicker than we think it is.
Yeah, it really feels like the race is on now. So we're calling this our kickoff episode for the 2026 football season. Obviously, we've had some coaching conversations where we kind of look a little bit big picture. We look a little bit at last year, and we did a little previewing to the next upcoming season, but a lot of that was kind of looking in the past. Now it's go time. We're talking the 2026 football season. And to kick it off, we're going to have a little fun today. This week's episode, we're going to draft up the list of things we love about high school football. Mitch, do you have a list of things you love?
I do, and I want to stress that we've done these types of episodes before, and we normally can come up with a handful of the same ideas. I want to stress to the audience, you and I have not discussed this at all. We have independently come up with our own, 7 or 8 things that we like that we'll kind of talk through. I bet we have at least 3 or 4 that are the same. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But it's hard to narrow that down, right? And I'm sure we'll come up with some as we talk through this. But yeah, I thought it'd be a fun episode to kick off the season here. This is something we haven't really done before. We put something out on X, right?
Yep.
Got some community input, and I'm sure as people listen to this show, they'll come up with their own ideas. So just a fun thing to kick off the season before I think our next episode is a conference preview. So just a little something fun to kick us off here in 2026.
Yeah, definitely. We'll shout out a few people that submitted some ideas on X. I was really excited to get their feedback because, I have my things and you have your things, but I wanted to catch kind of the atmosphere of everybody. What am I missing, right? Was kind of what I was looking for there in X. And we got some good ones. We got a lot of good ones. So we'll kind of shout those out as we go. But this was an idea that I had been brainstorming in the spring, and I was so excited. I was ready to roll out with it in April. And Mitch, you kind of, in your infinite wisdom, you pumped the brakes and said, hold on a minute. Let's wait till people are really geared up, really locked in on high school football. And I gotta give you props here. You are absolutely correct. The people are fired up and ready to go. This is the perfect way to kick off our coverage this season.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be a fun episode, I think, hopefully for some folks who maybe that listen to the show that are maybe our age, who have been, involved with the game, but maybe this will bring back some memories of when they played. I hope so, because it's still fresh in my mind 20 years later. So I'm sure it is for them as well. So yeah, really looking forward to kicking this off with you.
So like I said, people are excited. Look no further than our social media channels. We started posting team preview capsules. Those are going over really well. Our previews, as you might say, we're posting some throwback footage. People are really loving that. Mitch, have you seen some of the throwbacks? What are your thoughts?
Well, the one obviously that we have talked about in our group chat, and one that I knew that you were putting together, certainly the Garrett Barnes mixtape that you put together from some of the games that you were able to cover. I lived that era explicitly and dealt with that firsthand, those Bureau Valley teams. But, it's fun to showcase that for players of this era who weren't around for that, right? That weren't even alive.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Which is really weird to say, but yeah, to bring back that footage from the archives, and whether it's, showing the old Byron State Championship, right, in the Constantine interview or the Barnes video or anything else that you have in the archives. Always great to see that stuff pop back up.
Yeah, so that is available on our YouTube channel. You can find it on our social media channels, X, Instagram, wherever you can follow. We would love to have your support. Mitch,
Shout out to the Instagram, by the way. I mean, that thing is really skyrocketing. I know we've put out the call for subscribers on YouTube again this year. I don't know that we're over 1,000, but I know that our Instagram is also nearing that, if hasn't already surpassed it. So thank you to all of the followers on social media, because we've seen our channels really explode here as we gear up for the season.
I love to hear that. Now, I would tell people to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. But Mitch, as I texted you, my daughter says it's really weird when I say that. So I don't want to tell people to do it, but I'm telling them to go out and do it.
I think she's just going to have to deal with that, Greg. Like and subscribe. Smash the like button.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Just 34 away from 1,000 on YouTube. I got to give a shout out. Jeremy Castle, huge fan of the show. He's like our biggest cheerleader on X, man. He's pounding the pavement out there on X, getting people to get subscribed to our YouTube channel. So I love it. We really, really appreciate that.
67. So we're getting there.
And speaking of supporting the pod, there's still time to sponsor a segment here on the show. We're always looking for new ways of engagement as our show builds, and we'd be happy to have you along for the ride. If you're interested in being a sponsor, we have a variety of tiers available for you to jump in. You can email us at viewfromwestpod@gmail.com. If you don't have a business, but you still want to support what we're doing here, I really want to emphasize, head to PayPal. PayPal.me/viewfromwestpod. That's an easy way to make a straight donation to what we're doing here. Obviously, Mitch, we're not trying to get rich here, but hey, maybe a new microphone in the works for you. We have subscription fees to Riverside, which we love the platform we're on here, and obviously some other, fees that go along with it for equipment and, stuff like that. So we're excited. Any ways you can support us, we would love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any sponsorship, any donation really goes right back into the show. It really does. It helps with gas going to the games. Like you said, all the technology that we've made or that we've increased over the years. So, and again, if not, totally cool. We love that you're here, and we're going to give you the best show no matter what. So thanks again to everyone who has been with us along the way.
Yep, no doubt about it. As we kick off, let's give a shout out here to our sponsors, some long time, some first time. Simulation Sports in Monmouth, Illinois. They're back in the mix again, supporting the podcast. Of course, Nate Neighbor from Modern Woodmen of America. You and Nate go way back, and he goes way back on this podcast as well. So really good to have Nate back on board. Byron Wealth Management and Sean Considine in the mix this season as well. Of course, Mitch, we got to give love to the linemen, the men up front doing the work. Godfather's Pizza, that's where they step in as a sponsor for our offensive line of the week. We have First Wealth Financial Group, they're in as well this year. We have Deem Passing Academy, so Braden Deem doing QB clinics around the Quad Cities area. He's now in as a sponsor, so we're really excited about that one. That is a perfect fit for what we're doing here. And we're talking about a perfect fit. How about Fellowship of Christian Athletes? Dan Pearson being involved again. He helps us out, supports the pod, also helps us out with some video on a weekly basis, which is like the greatest video you're going to find, right, of high school football. So,
of course, the Holy Grail.
That's right. And if we're shouting out sponsors, Mitch, we got to shout out Breed Love Sporting Goods. We're currently working on some new merch. We got some new T-shirts, some new hats. This is going to be a really fun year of merch. There's a store coming open very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that, but I'm very excited for that. Mitch, tell the people what they need to know about Breed Love Sporting Goods.
Well, Greg, we're happy to say that once again, every episode this 2026 season, including this one, is going to be brought to you by our friends at Breed Love Sporting Goods, Western Illinois' premier sporting goods store for uniforms, apparel, equipment, awards, and online team stores. Just like you mentioned for View from the West, they provide all the same sporting goods services as the big nationwide companies, but with a faster turnaround. And their uniform pricing is a fraction of the cost you're probably used to. They offer name brands such as Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike, and are extremely responsive with any inquiries. With a primary focus on the western side of the state of Illinois, Breedlove Sporting Goods is the fastest way to outfit your team. Check them out on Facebook or at breedlovesports.com.
So like I said, keep your eye out. There is a store opening up. It'll have a lot of the same merch we had in previous years. The vintage like Tecmo Bowl style helmets, those are back. We've added a few teams into the mix for that. I believe West Hancock's getting their own gear. Stark County's in on the mix now, and there's a couple other ones. So we're adding to that store, but those will all be available. So if you missed out last year, jump in and grab some of those. And a couple other new ideas that we're throwing out there that I'm really excited for. So like I said, stay tuned. To all our head coaches, our athletic directors listening, if you haven't already, please fill out our View from the West preseason form. The more information you provide, the better we can promote your team. Our conference previews, Mitch, they debut next week, July 14th. It's here. It is upon us.
And we're starting with whom, Greg?
We will start with the NUIC and 8-man football. That has traditionally been our starting point. And Mitch, I'll be honest, this is kind of like throwing down the gauntlet for every other conference. That gets our most views of our preview episodes. That beats out like the Western Big Six and everybody.
And that surprises me because I know we have great viewership across the board.
Yeah.
So let's throw that out to a challenge, right? If you're a fan of the Western Big Six, if you're a fan of the LSC, if you're a fan of the track, anybody we cover, Big Northern Conference, come on, guys. Let's see if we can't dethrone the NUIC. Better said, or easier said than done, certainly, on the field and in the podcast listenership. But you know what? Even if you're not in the NUIC, listen to that one too, right? So, yeah. But no, I guess it's not so surprising, but nonetheless, excited to talk about the NUIC once again. I think it's going to be a really fun year, certainly coming off yet another state championship year, and lots of questions in the mix for that conference. And yeah, next week we'll be talking about it with Kyle.
Well, speaking of Kyle, so I think that a big part of the listenership or the viewership for that episode comes from the fact that like those small towns love high school football, and a lot of those programs are playing deep into November. So that's a big part of it, right? There's a lot of community buy-in. There's a lot of player buy-in. But let's not bury the lead here. Kyle brings the big brain knowledge about high school football in that episode every year.
Yeah, I don't even prepare for that episode because I just let Kyle run with it. I trust him. It's fine.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. So July 14th, our NUIC 8-man high school football preview with Kyle Kampmeyer. That's coming out. The previews will follow from then on with all the conferences we cover. And that all gears up for our second annual View from the West kickoff party set for Sunday, August 9th at the Other Bar in downtown Moline. Mitch, the logistics are being worked out, but we're going back. We're going downtown Moline. We're going to the Other Bar, back where it all started a year ago. And apparently we're celebrating Matt Randazzo's birthday. So how about that?
That is information that I was unaware of, and now my attendance is in serious question. I don't need to take away from the show, and now we got to celebrate Dazzle's birthday. He probably wants a cake. He probably wants presents. I might be busy that day. I'm not sure.
He says he's a Mitch guy, and here you go. I thought that would like solidify your, appearance. But...
Quite the opposite.
All right. Well,
I'm just trying to pump up your shirt sales. That's all.
There you go. Well, speaking of shirt sales, we're hoping to have Breedloves in attendance that night selling some merch live and in person. We're also hoping to have some merch to give away, which we did last year. So stay tuned for all those details, but it'll be a great night.
Maybe get some koozies that even I don't have.
Well, Mitch, if you show up in person, you'll get a koozie. How about that?
I would probably find a way to give it away and not, because we had them at state and I left without them. So let's not put it past me leaving again without anything.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, before we hit our break and get into the things we love about high school football, let's give a shout out to one journalist we love in high school football. A heartfelt congratulations to Kevin Hieronymus, the sports editor from the Bureau County Republican, has announced he's retiring at the end of the month. Mitch, this is a name we've become very familiar with over the years doing this podcast. But long before that, I was, working in local TV, seeing him on the sidelines. You were following, his coverage when you were in high school and throughout your time in the Three Rivers, your rivalry against Bureau Valley, which we already talked about. So what an amazing career, and just really happy for him.
I mean, 40 years? Is that right?
Yeah, 40.
I mean, to do anything for 40 years is truly remarkable, and to do it in local media and I'm sure we'll have a show with him to talk about all the things that he saw change over 4 decades, but to stay in that career and to roll with the punches, again, just an outstanding career for our guy, Kevin. Excited for what's next for him. And like I said, I'm sure we're going to have him on because I think he's going to be able to tell some very fascinating stories from his decades of covering this area that has truly been some job security, I would say, for him, with the successes and the stories, and he told it in such a nice way. So, yeah, congratulations to Kevin, and again, looking forward to what's next for him. Yeah,
he said in his retirement article that he won't miss some of the late nights, but, we're going to call it on the fly here. Maybe get him on the Instant Reacts podcast.
Ooh, I think he'd be a great candidate for that. Absolutely.
Yep. So, all right. Well, congratulations to Kevin. And, we thank him for everything he helped us with over the years, for the information, for the insights from that. The Bureau County area is so much better off over the years because his coverage was there. I really mean that. I just think they are so fortunate that they had that coverage, because it really gave an insight and really gave, excitement to that area and to those sports teams that you said produced so well over the years. So, all right, let's take a quick break. On the other side, we dive into all the things we love about high school football. This episode of View from the West podcast is brought to you by Simulation Sports. In addition to golf simulators and batting cages, Simulation Sports provides golf club repair, custom fittings for driver shafts, and even private lessons for golf, baseball, and softball. Whether you're looking for a fun group activity or want to fine-tune your skills and equipment, Simulation Sports has something for everyone. Visit their facility at 400 South Main Street in Monmouth, Illinois, or go to thesimulationsports.com to start playing today.
Shouldn't financial advice focus on you? I can help you plan for your financial future, from protection to saving to retirement. I'm Nate Neighbor, your Modern Woodman representative. Call me at 309-233-2656 or find me on the Modern Woodman website.
Get to know your local Modern Woodman representative to plan for your financial future and learn about valuable member benefits. Modern Woodman of America. Touching lives, securing futures. Securities offered through MWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodman of America.
The View from the West Player of the Week is brought to you by Breedlove Sporting Goods, Western Illinois' premier sporting goods store for uniforms, apparel, equipment, awards, and online team stores. They offer name brands such as Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike, and are extremely responsive with any inquiries. With a primary focus on the western side of the state of Illinois, Breedlove Sporting Goods is the fastest way to outfit your team. You can check them out on Facebook or at breedlovesports.com.
Hey there, local high school football fans. This is Sean Considine, a Byron Tiger and Iowa Hawkeye alumni, and now an LPL financial advisor. I'm passionate about high school football because it's the purest form of the game where communities come together. You can find me in my Byron office most days until I run off to football practice. I'm happy to talk about football or the markets. I'll leave that up to you. I want to wish everyone across Illinois a safe, successful high school football season.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Take your quarterback play to the next level. Train with Dean Passing Academy. Learn directly from Braden Dean, former Rock Ridge standout and the Midwest Conference Offensive Skills MVP at Monmouth College. At Dean Passing Academy, quarterbacks receive elite instruction focused on mechanics, decision-making, and game-like situations pulled directly from film. Serving the Quad Cities metro area and beyond. Call 309-798-1094 to learn more and schedule your training today. View from the West podcast is brought to you by First Wealth Financial Group, Do you have a comprehensive financial plan or simply an investment portfolio? Are your investments part of a coordinated strategy aligned with your goals or a collection of products accumulated over time? Partner with a team built around your goals. Preserve what you've built. Grow with intention. Contact First Wealth Financial Group at 563-242-1885 or visit their website at firstwealthfinancialgroup.com.
This is Dan Pearson. Our Fellowship of Christian Athletes team is pleased to partner with View from the West with Greg and Mitch. Bringing sports and the gospel together is our game plan as we serve 23 counties in our Northwest Illinois multi-area. Yes, all with schools covered by View from the West. Reach out to me if you want to get plugged in with FCA.
FCA, every coach, every athlete.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
Hey, this is Brett Bielma, the head coach of the Fighting Illini from Prophetstown, Illinois. You're listening to the View from the West podcast.
Welcome back. So here we go. It's the things we love about high school football. I'm really excited, like we talked about at the beginning, for this episode and for this list. It's going to be in no particular order. We're just kind of going to draft up and just go through and talk about the things that stand out to us that make high school football so unique, and the reason we honestly give hours a week, to podcasting about it, to talking about it, to preparing it, and all the things that we do. So we're going to do 7 each, Mitch. So we'll each pick our own 7. So that's the touchdown and the extra point. I figure that's the the best football number we could come up with here. So I got a list of about 13. So if we start crossing over, I may have to scramble on the fly here if you take some of mine, but I got some backup plans in case some get taken.
Okay. All right. Well, if I'm going to start, I don't know if I should. Okay. I don't know if I should cherry pick one that I know that we'll both have.
Okay.
And maybe it's just a fun one to kick off the conversation. So I guess I'm going to go there.
Okay.
Greg, there's nothing quite like getting to a high school football game on a Friday. Say you've been rushing through all the day to get there. Certainly we know that feeling from back in the day of working at the Zone. And maybe you get there at a quarter break. Maybe you get there at halftime. And where's the first place you go, Greg?
I mean, I'm guessing you're going to the concession stand because it's all about food.
The number one thing I like, the number one thing I'm going to talk about in high school football is a quality, local, booster ran concession stand, Greg. What's better than options of just maybe it's greasy, maybe it's smothered in barbecue sauce. It's your pork chop sandwiches, it's your pulled pork, it's your dogs, it's your brats, it's whatever. It's the grill in the back with the smoke flying everywhere. Good popcorn, good drinks, whatever you have. Maybe it's, what do they call it in Fulton? The steamer or whatever that sandwich thing is.
The anchor, yes.
The anchor, that's what it is. The anchor. I'm sorry. Apologies to my Fulton people. Anything like the traditional stuff, obviously, is great. But anytime you have something like that where it's unique to your community, I'm all in on that. I know you can find that at college and NFL, whatever, doesn't matter. But to have it locally at a high school game, I'm kicking off this conversation with concession stand food.
I love it. And that's a shout out to Big E on social media because he called out Stockton had potato soup at their concession stand last year during the playoffs.
Like where else would you get that?
Yeah.
No, I don't mean just like at Stockton. I just mean in a high school setting, in a playoff game in November, potato soup that somebody made that morning in a big old crock pot. Like, yeah, I'm in on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to segue off of that, and I think I'm going to dive a little deeper. I'm going to say specifically a great pork chop sandwich from that said concession stand. That's going to be my number one. That was one of the tops of my list when I started thinking about the things I love.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Awesome.
Because we talk about it all the time.
Yes, exactly. So we shouted out the Anchor in Fulton, which is a ribeye on top of a pork chop, is phenomenal. So good.
Oh.
So good. I ate that on my way from Fulton to Morrison last year covering high school football, and it was delicious.
This is what the Dutch envisioned when they landed in Fulton. They envisioned the Anchor sandwich. I know it. It's probably written in stone somewhere in Fulton.
Yes, and it was so good on my drive from Fulton to Morrison. That little Dutch highway right there is a beautiful thing.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
You got that in Fulton. Shout outs to Kewanee and Wethersfield. I believe that Kewanee is the pork chop capital of the world, or the hog capital of the world. So obviously they got good pork chops there.
Yep.
We have, I always love, usually my buddy Rory is buying me a free pork chop sandwich from Rova Williamsfield. It's the Rova FFA. Now, what I like about this one is they have their own stand. They have their own shed where they sell the pork chops out of that. Like, there's a concession stand right there, but then next to it is where you go to get your pork chop, which is perfect. Just perfect.
Yeah. Shout out to all the local FFAs.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
This will not be the last time we reference Bill Adams Field in Rova either. I promise you that.
Yeah.
So
this whole conversation reminds me that my dream is a Illinois pork producer sponsorship on the show.
That's
not
right.
a sponsor, but could be.
Absolutely.
We gotta somehow make that happen.
So the last one I want to shout out, do you remember a few years ago, Spring Valley Hall High School won
That's right.
The pork producer, or the Illinois high school, what did you call it? Pork chop championship, basically?
Sure. Pork chop state championship. Sure. Hang the banner.
That's right. I think they did. I think they got a banner.
Print the shirts.
That's
print
right.
the shirts.
That's right. So there you go.
That is a Breed Loves idea.
Yes. 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 I need a Hall High School pork chop championship.
I would wear that every episode.
Oh man, we are off to a lightning fast start here. This is excellent.
This is why we don't prep for shows, Greg, because this is where the magic happens.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, here we go. So Mitch, your second thing you love.
Okay. And again, this is where we're going to riff a little bit, just to tag onto that just slightly. And no, because you might have this. I'll save it for the end. I'll save it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. My second pick, I'm just going to go in order of how I wrote them.
Okay.
The one I want to talk about.
Ooh, you're stumped in your second pick.
I know. Well, the one I have second, the one I have last are kind of intertwined. So I think I'm going to mix those in. Okay. So my second one, a two-parter. We've always talked about on this show how we met, where we first worked together in local media doing the Highlight Zone. Those shows still exist. Channel 4, Channel 6, Channel 8, all that still exists. Those are all still wonderful shows that we fully support. The people that listen to this show outside of a select few don't know what that feeling was like, because it's different now, right? It's different now how those shows are produced. But like you and I speeding our way on some Iowa highway to either get back to the station or to get back to the third quarter of the Kia Cup game or something. Like,
there's a deep cut.
I live for that feeling again. Like that rush I've never experienced before.
Yeah.
So the magic of a Friday night from a media standpoint is different now, but there's still a ton of work obviously that goes into it. That I want to always shout out, because viewers are seeing the finished product as it's being played out on screen live. They don't see what's going on in the background or what led up to that. So I loved doing that. I'm so grateful for my time doing that. Also, what is not the same now that I truly feel bad for the kids now is I will remember always on a Saturday morning getting up and going to Shell or Casey's or something that had the Sauk Valley Gazette, and you would get the sports section. And it was just this beautiful layout of colors and logos and scores and stuff. Now, we would know the scores from watching those aforementioned highlight shows, but maybe we didn't get to read the story of how the games played out and such. So it's not that way anymore. That's a sad reality of the world. But the thing that I take away from my high school career is just that feeling of either being on those shows, then later working on those shows, but really, again, getting those newspaper clippings the next day, seeing your name, seeing your picture, seeing your team, whatever, and seeing what else happened with your opponents or the conference or the state. You know, I would read about what Moline and Rock Island were doing. We had no difference on our team, but I was interested in that. So I yearn for that feeling again, because I'm sad that that's gone now, but that's a nostalgic piece of high school football that I'll always appreciate.
Yeah, so I love that you brought that one up, because it was about a year ago at this time we did the episode we called Friday Night Lights, Camera, Action, and it was a whole episode. We sat down with Dan Pearson, Corey Kuffler, Brian Stocking, Matt Randazzo, yourself, me, all Nick Bull, of course, in there, former photographer from Channel 6, all talking about what you just summed up, right? That kind of like that unique atmosphere that led to Friday night football coverage. And it's such a unique beast. And, you know, Matt Randazzo always jokes that, you know, the newsroom gears up, you know, every year or a couple times a year for an election night. We geared up for election night basically every Friday in the fall. There was like 10 election nights, you know, when it's like results are coming in, you got to get scores, you got to get highlights, and it all comes down to that 10-15 deadline. And you're right, that adrenaline rush that I had back then is very much the reason why we're doing this podcast now, because I got so sucked into it. And it's unlike any other sporting event, high school, college, you name it. That is a unique thing to high school football.
And again, I don't want to tell like these stories that only a few select would understand, but like we've talked about on the show before, where we would be on the road. I would not text Brian Stocking. I would have to call the station and talk to Brian Stocking and tell him the plays. We would write the script in a 30-second phone call, and then an hour later, Sharon Derek is saying it on the highlight zone. Like, that is just, I love that so much. And yeah, just, you don't get that outside of high school football, those local TV productions. And the Quad Cities is incredibly fortunate to have that at 3 major stations, and they've done it for as long as they've been doing it, and it's as strong as ever. I love everything about that.
Yep. Well, I think I'm gonna use that as my segue to my topic, which is kind of shifting the focus from kind of the coverage aspect, but maybe to the community. And I called this one my Friday night main event. So, shout out to any old school wrestling fans, because the WWF had Saturday night's main event. I'm going to go with Friday night main event. And what I mean by that is, I think what's so different about high school football is you only play once a week, and it becomes the focal point of your community. And it doesn't matter if we're talking big schools in the Western Big Six, or we're talking even down to 8-man football. is a bigger event because it only comes around once a week, because you only have, if you're lucky, you have 14 of them throughout a year, right? That's at the max end. Most schools are getting an average of the 10, maybe if you make the playoffs, 11 on average. So that's what I love, is that players are local. So unlike college programs, the community knows the players on the field for the most part, right? Like, these are, student athletes from your town, from your local community, and it just becomes such an atmosphere and an event for a lot of schools that has always drawn me in. And I always joke that a lot of times going to a game, the play on the field sometimes is almost secondary, because I'm seeing so many familiar faces and I'm taking in the atmosphere that is Friday night, that the game kind of becomes like, oh yeah, and they're playing football too. But I love the event, the big game feel.
So I had a version of this, so I'll piggyback into this, and then that'll lead me into my next point. So I had wrote down the same thing, that small town pride. And that doesn't have to be small town, just community pride, school pride, whatever. Like, what everyone is doing on a Friday night. And if you say, are you going to the game? There is no question what you're referring to. There's not one question. If you're in, I don't know, True Value in Knoxville, and you say, are you going to the game? Everyone there is going to know what you're referring to.
Yep.
Everyone knows we're talking about Blue Bullet football. I don't think you get that. And you don't get that in other places, what I mean. Like, it's one of the very few things, like, we have. Like, it's one of the very few true local gatherings left, right? There are very few things. There are community events. I totally understand that. But a football game where everybody gathers for a couple hours on a Friday night, like, that's just beautiful. That is beautiful life right there.
Yep. And I think, and this is not, taking away, I don't think people will read it this way, but this is not taking away from basketball or baseball or softball or other sports, but I think that there's a different feel to it. I love baseball. In playing high school baseball, it was different, though, because you're playing at 4:30 in the afternoon, right? And you're playing multiple times a week. And basketball the same way. Basketball's in the middle of winter a lot of times. It's indoors. There's a different, a lot of times it's just the attendance is different. The feel is different because there's more games involved. Football is unique just because of the way the structure it plays out.
Yeah, I think basketball can get close on certain nights, right?
Yep.
And certainly if we're talking about like Wharton Fieldhouse on a big night, whatever. But my next point where I'm going to play off of this touches on what you just said about things being different. It's the entire atmosphere on a Friday night. It's the sun setting as the kickoff is approaching. It's, a beautiful fall sunset as the ball is getting lined up to kick, or they're doing the national anthem, whatever it is. It's the marching bands. It's the sounds. It's just the sounds in general. If they got vuvuzelas for some unknown reason that they shouldn't, or cowbells at least.
Oh,
but it's
Mitch,
it's the marching bands.
Are you a fan of coins in a milk jug?
No.
That was a big thing in Aledo for a long time. The fans in the stands had the milk jugs full of quarters or rocks or whatever it is.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I turned you into curmudgeon in one sentence. Sorry. All right.
I know. I would just get annoyed with that super quick.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It adds to the playoff atmosphere a lot of times. I don't
make it natural.
Okay, here we go. All right.
It's the marching band. It's the cheerleaders or the pom team if the school has one. It's the student section going absolutely nuts.
Yep.
It's kids wearing, or girlfriends wearing your away jersey at a home game, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
We already talked about the concession stand. It's the announcer, like, who was my mail guy, like delivered my mail and announced the football games. Like, that's awesome.
Yes.
That is just awesome.
Yep.
And again, we talked about like the smell of the grill and the kids running around. Like, it's it's awesome. The atmosphere of high school football is unmatched. I mean, granted, college is great. I've been to many college football games, and I love the atmosphere there too. That's why I like college more than I do NFL, because you get a lot of the same things, right? But it goes back to the purity. It goes back to the small town. All of that intertwined into a Friday night is what makes that a little bit more special to me.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to make the final list, but I want to insert it right here as an honorable mention. Can we please talk about some of the all-time great football games that have happened between junior high kids in the end zone at every football game we ever cover?
Yeah, or if they're just slinging the ball in the parking lot, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I remember going to Morrison. Did the kids, junior high kids, would play up in like the softball field, which at the time was right behind the football field. It was kind of up that hill. I remember seeing kids play out there, and it's like all you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that's just a wide open field. Yeah.
Yep. All you'd get is like ambient light from the football field. It's pretty dark out there, but that did not stop. That did not stop those kids, man. And the funny thing is, those kids we probably then talked about 5-6 years later, being in high school, which is awesome. So a shout out to all of the pickup games that happened between junior high kids everywhere around, everywhere around the field, not happening on the main field itself. So, all right, that leads me to, I think I'm going to go with, it's kind of an atmosphere one, but I'm going to go with unique field backdrops. So obviously when we're talking NFL and we're talking college, you're going to get a lot of, the stands looking the same. College certainly adds some wrinkles to it. But when you're talking high school football, I almost feel like high school football feels a little bit more like when you talk Major League Baseball stadiums, where they all have their own quirks. They all have their own unique identifiers. I'll go through, and hey, Matt Surdich is already laughing. You know where I'm starting here. You know where I'm going.
Tell the people.
I'm going Stockton. It's in a city park, right? And it's sandwiched between two softball diamonds. So basically the two outfields of those softball fields make up the middle of the football field. It's right set along the highway. There's a few bleachers on each side. It's a lot of standing room only, just at the rope at field level. It is really a cool atmosphere, and it just makes for such unique sight lines that you don't get at other levels of football. How about seeing a cornfield in the background? That's a unique identifier of high school football. Places that come to mind, United High School out in Monmouth is a great one. Orion, I believe, has corn sitting behind their field. Rock Ridge is always really cool because when the sun sets, there's actually like a farm in the background where you see the buildings kind of silhouetted off of it. That makes for great atmosphere. And I said this would not be we would mention Rova Williams Field and Bill Adams Field again. Mitch, we got to go back to when they had the line of pine trees behind the visitors' bench. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and when I played, it was this way. I'm sure it still is. North Boone is very similar. North Boone in the Big Northern has pine trees that line the end zone. Unfortunately,
the pine trees are no more at Bill Adams Field. They came down a few years ago. I believe that Grant Goldstrand, the head coach, mentioned that maybe some of them were dying, so it was time to go, and they had to make room for, I believe, solar panels or whatever's in there now. But that is a look I really miss. Maybe not one that stands out right away, but how about like Morrison? I always felt like Morrison was super unique in the fact that all of the bleachers, it's a huge section of bleachers on one side in a permanent structure, and then the other side is nothing. It's just a press box. So that makes for a very unique sightline on whatever side you're standing on.
Yeah, and, we've seen more teams recently upgrading stadiums, turf fields, whatever. And I think that's great because I think these kids should have the best facilities that are available to them. But you lose out a little bit on that, right? Just a little bit. I'm not going to take one thing away from like what Lena's new stadium looks like because that's a huge boost in the community, but it might have a bit of a different feel than their old field used to be. You know what I mean? So, again, I am I'm advocating for the best facilities you could get, but like we just talked about, a traditional, maybe looks a little run downy a little bit, stadium that's been there forever. I love that. Love it.
So one more before we pivot to our next topic.
Yeah.
I think that a place that needs to get shouted out in this conversation is Sterling High School, where Sterling plays and Newman plays. Now, we said college backdrops can be a little different. Sterling is a college backdrop, in my opinion.
Yes.
It looks better than a lot of, college atmosphere or college stadiums you're going to see. So you got to give a shout out to Sterling High School because that one is super unique.
One of my favorites. Absolutely.
There are so many. I'm thinking of like Dupec and the they play at two different places, but it's I can't remember if it's Durand or Pecatonica that has the barn in the background.
Okay. Let's expand on this because you get EPC with the trucks. You go to Wilmington with the motorcycles.
Hang on.
Like, that's a whole thing. Okay, you getting there?
That could be a whole category in itself.
But are you going to tease it right now if that's one of yours? Because I'll shut up. Okay.
I think, yes. Yes.
Got it. No problem. Okay. Let's pivot.
All right.
I'll go with for my next pick here in the draft. Give me homecomings, Greg.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Give me homecomings. Give me getting that schedule released and seeing, what game, preferably middle of the season. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. I get it. Who you're playing. The hype starts immediately. Then you've got just the anticipation building up to that. You've got all this great pageantry. Of course, you're probably getting out of school early on Friday with the parades, all leading up to the big game, and then the festivities afterwards and on Saturday most likely. So, love a good homecoming game. A chance for alumni to come back. Maybe they are doing their Hall of Fame night that day or something like that. So I'm all in on homecomings and all the pageantry that comes with that.
Yeah, I'm in. And I feel like homecoming is obviously a big deal in college atmospheres too, but it hits a little different for high schools, because
I didn't go to a homecoming at Ambrose, Greg. I never went once.
That's
not
fair.
Not when I was there, and not since.
See, but I think it is in high school. It is a true homecoming. You're going home if you go back to it for whatever event it is, whether it's a reunion or a Hall of Fame thing, like you mentioned, or just to see the team and be a part of it. Yes, I would say.
Matter of fact, I probably went back to Morson's homecoming on the same weekend that it was an Ambrose homecoming. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yeah,
it's all of that. If everything has to condense into one week or one game, and that's the one time you get back, I'm all for that.
All right, so I'm going to stick with a similar theme for my next pick as I did last one with unique fields, but I'm going to look more specifically at fans and fan seating. So let's go with unique fan seating or unique vantage points of fans at a high school football game. Shout out again to Big E on X, who has been a part of our Instant React show. He is a huge part of what they do at Rock Ridge, the south end zone at Rock Ridge with Big E and Bully. You're usually getting Chase Schweigen down there, big fan of the show. A lot of former players are down there, but then you're seeing some little kids hanging out down there. They're right on the edge of the end zone. I just love that. I think that's such a unique...
Usually some of your best cutaways when you shoot at that particular stadium, always a good highlight there of somebody dancing. Maybe it's Chase dancing, maybe it's a little kid dancing, whatever, it doesn't matter. But no, I'm with you. Please continue.
So that's obviously a great one, and it's really great in Rock Ridge because they've been really good the past few years. And another one I like that goes back years and years. Did you ever see the couch in the end zone at Rova Williams Field or several other small schools? I love love that look, right? It's usually a handful of high school kids all piled up on a couch right there in the end zone. Like, where'd that couch come from? Where do they haul it in? Where does it go?
It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
No one knows, and it doesn't matter.
I know.
It's there.
I love that. That's always like a perfect cutaway. That one's a big deal. And I had somebody on X reply with, how about what he titled the Chevy Ford Fields? So when they line up trucks around the field, that could be a Stark County where they get there early and back in their trucks. We saw the image from Logan from the WIVC at Hardin Calhoun last year. They were backed in there, a day, 2 days, 3 days in advance of a playoff game?
That was like on Monday. Yeah.
And do they need that truck the rest of the week? I guess not, because they're parking it there.
They probably do, but they're gonna figure it out.
Exactly. So I love that. And then getting back to what you talked about, homecoming, I always feel like Moline has their band in the end zone, in that one end zone. And on homecoming, it's really a big deal because all the homecoming floats are backed in there right for halftime, and it's a big thing. So that's another great one for unique fan vantage points. Anything that I missed, Mitch? Can you think about unique fan vantage points?
Because do they still park in the end zone at Marquette?
They do
on the other side of the fence there.
They do a little bit. Playoff games, they put up they put up a fence to block it off. But yeah.
So when I played there, we were warming up on that end.
Yep.
And there were cars parked along there, and there was a lot of talking going on that day, Greg. But no, I'm with you. And just again, going back to Morrison, just because I'm familiar with it, like there are houses across Genesee Avenue where, at least to my memory, they were set up. I don't think their view is great, but there was always an ample amount of people there. The yard was full of people watching the game from the other side of the fence. So, yeah, any stadium that has that, Lena is a great example.
That's a great call out
of the houses that are right there. And there's plenty of options like that. But yeah, anytime that you have a backdrop where it's just someone's house, I love that. It's great.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, Mitch, your pick.
Okay. I'm going to save that one. I will go with my next one because we're running low. I mean, we're probably into the fifth or sixth one now.
This is your fifth pick.
Okay. I think I can close out on a pretty good stretch here. Let me go with local broadcasts of games.
Yes, I had this one.
Excellent. So we talk a lot about this throughout the season. Certainly as technology has gotten better, Wi-Fi wasn't a thing at EM Bud Coalfield and Morrison when I was there. But now you see these smaller communities that have the ability to stream on NFHS or YouTube, whatever it is. But to take it, which is great, right? It's outstanding that if we're not able to get to a game, we know we can cover it and at least try to make it sense of it. If they have a camera on the scoreboard, or sometimes it says the 15th quarter or whatever, and you just kind of got to guess, but that's the fun part of it. But if you take it a next step further and you like a Tiger Central Live at Princeton, one of the premier broadcasts, certainly Golden Warrior TV with Jim Spencer has been a staple for years. Dixon Broadcast Club, where it's just kids learning how to do this, and you can hear the excitement in their voices. And there's plenty others. We know the Newman guys. Like, I love that. I love every effort to try and broadcast the game to people who are not there. Radio has obviously been around for a long time and has always been a staple of ways for people to listen to the game. And now, again, as technology has gotten better, and we get video feeds now, and then you plug everything together and you get this live broadcast. Just it's tremendous. Certainly for me not being around, I can quote unquote get to 4 or 5 games a night just by checking out the various broadcasts. So a shout out to all of those productions locally that have been doing a wonderful job. And like with that, right? You get Gary's Insurance sponsoring every first down. Like, what's better than that? The community sponsors, the engagement, and again, if it's students, even if it's not, if it's our friends with Monmouth Roseville with Sean Temple.
Yeah.
Like just how generally excited they are at everything. I love that.
So, yeah, I was going to bring up a couple points there. First of all, shout out to the Rex McCorder Red Zone on WRMJ. That's a local sponsor that I love.
So how did I not talk about the Taylors? Oh my God. They're going to kill me.
So
sorry to Ty, sorry to Jim, sorry to the whole team.
So, yes, WRMJ, they're the OGs of the game. They've been around doing this. Jim always says the number, 40 years, or I don't know how long they've been on the air. 50, maybe not quite 50, but they've been around.
Let's call it 60. Why not?
They've been around.
I'll give them extra credit. Because I failed to even bring their name up.
So, obviously, we bring Ty on the show. We've had Jim on the show before. They do a great job. That's why we're talking about this conversation, because of the work they do. But a couple other names. You mentioned Sean Temple from WMOI in Monmouth.
Yep.
And Mitch, what I really appreciate is like the hometown feel of it. Last year in the Monmouth Roseville win over Bloomington Central Catholic, Sean Temple on the call, and his color commentator is Nick Houston's dad. So, that brings this, such a unique flair to it. And I get goosebumps, as I sit here and talk about it, because you could hear the excitement in Nick Houston's dad's voice as he watches his son and their teammates get that win, that huge win on the road. So, that stands out to me as, that is so unique to high school athletics and high school football, is that, that immediate connection, and you're hearing it on the air. It's fun, and it can get wild sometimes. It can get, get crazy, but it's fun.
The passion just spills out, and that's fine.
Yep.
Certainly, I'm not calling out any sort of broadcast on this. Sometimes it gets a little aggressive, but it at the heart of it is just pure passion, and that's outstanding, and it's great. I love that. The example that I said about Gary's Insurance, that was something at Quincy, and I do not remember I think it was a State Farm agent in Quincy who sponsored the First Downs, and it's whatever he paid, he got his money's worth and then some, sponsoring First Downs with Quincy football when Braden Little was quarterback. But it's just things like that. It's the community, another aspect of the community coming together for the betterment of the program. Again, they're sponsoring, they're helping pay for this service to broadcast these games out to people who, if it's not a town game or if they just can't make it to a home game. And I will always appreciate those efforts that go into that. Yeah.
So a couple other shout outs. Kyle Leach from Milledgeville always does a great job broadcasting. They actually went out of their way to broadcast Stockton and Lee Wynn last year on a video stream because they knew it was going to be such a big deal. So for them to go kind of that extra mile for that one. Speaking of Lena Winslow, they always have great radio coverage. Those are really fun listen, a really good listen when I'm driving around.
Well, and those guys are fun to talk to at State too.
Yes, absolutely they are. And Sam Ramirez from Dixon, he's in Big Northern Country covering the Dixon Dukes. He does a really good job of local radio and, local high school football. Our guy Tony Z from Fulton, he brings the energy, brings the excitement. I love collaborating with him, getting his, highlights from his calls. So you're right. I had local broadcasts on my list. That is a really, really good pick. All right, Mitch, we haven't brought it up yet, and I'm maybe a little surprised, but when we're looking at on field, on the matchups on the field, what's better than a rivalry ending with a trophy?
That was on my list next.
Okay.
Yes, we did it.
There we go.
We did it.
Rivalry trophies. We got to start with Kewanee Princeton. What I love about this is it doesn't even really have a name. It's just Kewanee Princeton. It's the rivalry. And that trophy, Mitch, that trophy is legit. I mean, that one it's big, and it's got all the scores on it. It's got one side is in an orange color, one side's in a blue color, representing both schools. It's like a 3-tiered, it's like a wedding cake type of trophy. It's huge. And
Right.
it is perfect. I love being at the end of the Kewanee-Princeton game to see them hoisting that trophy. Like, that makes the game better. It makes it mean more.
Mhm.
I wish that more schools did it. That's my public service announcement, to get more athletic directors and coaches in to let's bring in some trophies here.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot on this show. How much we love the nostalgia of having a rivalry trophy that dates back whoever, or who knows how far back sometimes those date, but like, for me it's the wooden shoe bowl, right? It's the wooden shoe trophy with Morrison and Fulton. It's just a unique thing that is named after the community's rich history, ties in both communities, and it's a fun thing to play for. It's an awesome thing to play for. Let me rephrase. So yeah, there's plenty of examples that we've talked about on this show, but like you said, it's kind of a trend that goes away a little bit, or at least it's hard to start. You know what I mean? Like, if the rivalry's been around long enough for a trophy, but doesn't have one yet, does that lose some luster? Maybe a little bit, but maybe not. But you know what? If someone wants to try it, if it's a new conference, if DuPet goes into the Big Northern and starts a rivalry with Byron and they want to get a trophy, cool. Let's do it. I'm in.
When I talked to Stark County head coach Jade Nord, and I've also actually talked to Bureau Valley's head coach Pat Elder, I believe they're playing this year. And Stark County and Bureau Valley, depending on where you live, you can choose which school district you end up in because of the way the geography shapes out.
Sure.
So that one, if they have natural borders already and they've never really played, that's a new rivalry. I'm just saying,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Bureau Valley's, had kind of an on and off one, I guess, with Princeton over the years. So yeah, we need more examples of that. It's hard to establish, but if there's some history there, let's play for trophies, guys. Let's just get it started.
So the county line clash between Mercer County and Rock Ridge, that one just started when Mercer County and Rock Ridge obviously renewed their rivalry after they had kind of been in different conferences and not playing each other for years. So that one's back in the mix. I'd like to say that, like, we had a little hand in influencing that one because we've talked about this for years. And so when they started back up, I think they'd heard our cry for more trophies, and it happened. So Rock Ridge has controlled that one so far, but it is cool that one's back in the mix because obviously they are very nearby rivals. And then the battle for the blacktop between Polo and Milledgeville, that goes way back in the NUIC. They've transitioned both into 8-man football, still maintaining that rivalry. That's an old school, like, it's just a football, bronze football on top of a, square base, a wooden base. It looks really old school and kind of tough. That's a cool trophy that I like as well. Okay, I'll put you on the spot here. What's a game in the area that needs a trophy before we pivot away?
I would say either Moline Rocky.
Yep.
Moline UT. I'm just sticking in the Western Big Six. Or haven't Sterling and Geneseo played like a million times? So
yes,
something like that, where there's clearly an established history between the two. We know it's a rivalry. It's not made up. Let's just, let's add a little something to it. A little bragging rights here.
Yep. Those are the ones that kind of came to my mind as well. The Moline UT one is getting really good, because Welch and Morrissey kind of feed into it. So that's one that kind of stands out to me as a potential really good one. Rocky Moline is historic, long time, one of the longest in the state of Illinois. That could have one. And you kind of also referenced Sterling Geneseo. That was one I was going to reference as well. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, good call. So to anyone listening who has pull, that's what we're looking at there. All right, my turn, Mitch.
Okay, is this your second to last one?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
I have
4,
one. I have
5.
one more. I have one.
Oh wait, this is yours. This is your pick. Yeah, this is your sixth pick. Yes.
Okay, so I have one more. and then a final one.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that's my list, so we're good with that. I'm going to save I have a feeling we're going to end on the same thing.
Okay.
And for my second to last one, we talked about this a little bit earlier when we talked about small town pride. It's just the purity of high school football.
Yep.
There's a certain beauty to things that are going to come to an end, right? This is 4 years of football. You walk in on your senior year, you've got at least 9 games. And if you're lucky, you've got more. And you can, you can see sometimes where that's going to come to an end. And it just makes it feel that more impactful. Like anyone who's played high school football will lie to you if they said they don't think about it once a day. That they're lying, because they do. And I know that because I do. At least once a day. It's not trying to live in the past. It comes up. Like it's such a formative part of your youth. It just pops up all the time. And we're seeing things like states allowing NIL and like whatever. And we've seen kids transfer. And again, I'm not getting into that. So there's things that are creeping in that I don't like, but it's a thing where that these kids have 4 years to play football and 96% of them aren't going to play another down. And I think that that's great. I just love that. They're playing for the right reasons. They know it's going to come to an end, and they're still out there working their tails off. So it's the purest form of the sport. I think that remains. Certainly college is an absolute disgusting mess at the moment. And I don't want that to trickle into the high school game, but I don't think it's really there at all. So just, again, for all the things that we've talked about prior to this, it's just the purity of high school football that I think is just so special.
Don't you think a part of what lends into what you're talking about is the fact that there's no alternative to football as an adult unless you're playing in the NFL, right? Like, baseball, you can go play softball. Basketball, you can go play in a rec league. There's just no equivalent to football. And you already are limited in games that you play in high school as it is. And then to know that when you're done, you can maybe play college, if that small percentage that go on to play college ball. And then there's an even very minute chance that you're going on to the NFL. And then that's it. So I think, don't you think that lends into what you're talking about that makes it unique?
If there's any players that are listening to this, I guarantee you, if you ask your coach what he would give up to be in your shoes just for a play, it'd be family, faith, friends. That's about it. Like, that's a very short list of things that they would ever sacrifice to be in your shoes, because they would give a lot to be where you are and to go turn back the clock for just, again, a play, a game, whatever.
Yep.
And there's few things in life that I think make you feel that way. So yeah, it's, again, I hate to just say that it's just the purity of it, but I don't have any other way of putting it better. So that's my penultimate thing that I love about high school football.
Yes. Well, the purity of the game. And it's interesting that you use that exact phrase, because we've heard Sean Considine say that on this podcast. He says it in his advertisement on this very show, talking about it's the purest form of the game. And I think what really stood out to me in our interview with him and his son Caden was him talking about his time at Byron, and then at Iowa as a Hawkeye, and then in the NFL winning a Super Bowl. He still says, I'll never forget the feeling I had when I won that state title with Byron.
Yeah.
And that's what I still talk about. That's what I still remember. And we long for, those memories, because there was something different. There's something special about that. So there you go. There's proof right there that a guy who's done it all and seen it all in the football, throughout his life, still looks back, now still coaches at Byron and gives back because of how much it meant to him.
Exactly.
Yep. Man, Mitch, you're really like tugging at the heartstrings with that one. That one's a deep one.
I can't wait to talk about my last one.
All right. I love it. All right. All right. I haven't gone there yet, so we got to get into it. We teased it. How about entrance traditions?
Okay.
Player entrance traditions.
Yep.
I mean, we have some great ones in this area. You talked about Eastland Pearl City and the trucks. They're firing up those diesel trucks and they're running down the hill. That's a great visual and just kind of a really intense way to enter the field.
Yep.
You have, speaking of like a hill, Mercer County, they always walk down the hill locked arm in arm in step down that hill. That's a great tradition in George Pratt Memorial Field going back to when they were the Aledo Green Dragons. So that's a really cool one that I always kind of think about. Maybe some more fun ones. The Byron Hog trailer. I don't know if that's only for playoff time or if they do that. I don't know if they do that every game or if they still do it.
I thought it was every game. Yeah.
That one is epic. Mm-hmm. And that one is an all timer where the hog trailer is pulled onto the track and these guys are pushing it and it's bouncing around and they run out, on firing on all cylinders. That's a really fun one. What other entrances, Mitch, that stand out to you?
Right. Okay. It doesn't even have to be like that, like a spectacular thing. I just think about, and this goes back to the purity and then the community thing, like cheerleaders or parents who spend Thursday night drawing up this huge piece of paper.
Yes.
That is going to be destroyed 24 hours later. Like it's a piece of art that they spend hours on and it's going to be ripped up by some kids pretty shortly.
Yep.
So, and again, if you go to the homecoming, there's always a theme, right? So then the signs are going to be all different and stuff like that. So it doesn't even have to be that of a spectacular thing like you're talking about because those are awesome, but just any type of entrance where it just builds the hype. I love it.
Yep. And hey, shout out to those signs because a lot of times there's some pretty creative stuff on there. There's some pretty witty banter going on those signs that, get ripped up very soon, but they're good. They got some hidden messages in there that are good stuff. Speaking of like running through the banner, I may be a little biased. I love the Sterling High School entrance. They got a big band and they get the drums going as they're running out. And like I said, I'm a little biased because I've gotten in the locker room before a game. So I've kind of like followed the team down their steps into their tunnel and then out. Like, that's cool. Like I was, I'm not playing, I'm not padded up, but I'm in the back getting that video. And that's a really cool entrance. And I always remember hearing John Schlemmer in a pregame speech telling the seniors, you only get to do this 5 times this year. That's it. 5 times you get to do that. So like soak it up, remember it, take it all in. So like that's getting back to kind of what you talked about, that purity of like that Friday night and what it means to be wearing your school colors and running out like that. Speaking of like running through the tunnel, Rock Island has a really cool setup too, where on their home side, the bleachers, the locker room is under the bleachers, so they come out through a tunnel at midfield. That's always a really cool visual that I always remember. Geneseo now, they do fireworks.
I was just going to say.
Yeah. Geneseo's got fireworks. They have a huge inflatable they run out of. They have like strobe lights going.
They got the bell.
Yeah. Ooh, that could be an honorable mention down the way. The Victory Bell. We have several schools that have those.
Yeah.
So maybe quickly, honorable mention to like Geneseo. Milledgeville has a Victory Bell they ring. Sherrard has a Victory Bell that they ring. So, yeah, that's a good call out there.
Yeah, shout out to the Victory Bells for sure.
So there you go. There's my team entrances as my penultimate, my second to last.
Okay. So last ones here, huh?
Yeah.
I think they're going to be the same. I don't know.
Okay.
So I'll just go. And if it's I hope it's different so we can keep the conversation going, but I think this one we'll have plenty to talk about. We talked about the feeling of that sun setting on a Friday, right? A gorgeous sunset falling as we're getting ready for kickoff.
I will give quick shout-outs on X to Ryan Lindley. He sent a beautiful photo. He's in Central Illinois. I believe he does Morton High School play-by-play. Okay. He sent a beautiful photo from, I think, was Dunlap High School. The sunset was amazing. We should retweet that or send that out on X. And then also, Zach Waggle, the new head coach at Sherrard, pointed out, like, the crisp evening fall air, like, right before kickoff is just, you can't replicate that. So anyway, go ahead.
Right. It's fine. But then let's fast forward 9 weeks, Greg.
Oh, here we go.
Let's fast forward 9 weeks to when we get kickoffs on an overcast day. Sometimes it's sunny. Most of the time it's a little bit overcast. On a 2:30, on a 3:30, on a 4:30, doesn't matter. On a Saturday afternoon in the fall. And it's playoff season. Like, my number one thing I love about high school football is playoff football. Like, and there's a lot of ways that we can get here, and a lot of directions we could talk about this. But, like, to me, there's nothing greater. It's it's making it, right? And we don't need to get into qualifying for it because more communities are going to experience this now, and that's great because this is my number one thing. So I'll leave my opinions on that at rest. It's driving, it's qualifying, and then it's the build up to that Saturday game where you drive around your town and you've got paint on the windows on Wall Street, on Main Street. You've got street signs everywhere, whether it's football player lives here in your yard or it's on the strip of road on the telephone poles of, signs that the opponent's bus is going to drive through, the fans are going to drive through. It's a community that is a Friday night times 10. They've all got their shirts on. They're all making noise. It's just, there's nothing like it. A playoff atmosphere in whatever community, it doesn't matter. That just the stakes of it's win or go home for the things that we just talked about, where if it's a senior that is not going to be playing in college or whatever if it's a freshman doing it for the first time, whatever, it doesn't matter. Look no further than the semifinal in Stockton, where all of the hype was there. And that atmosphere blew expectations out of the water, lived up to it, and then some. I hate to just like trivialize it or minimalize this, but like there's nothing greater on the planet than high school football. I love it. I don't really know what else to say, so I'm going to hand it off to you to keep this conversation going. But that's my number one is playoff football is the number one thing that I love about high school football.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I got a few other things on my list, but I cannot possibly top this. So
this wasn't going to be your last one.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I had this category exactly, but I have things listed in my categories.
We'll still talk about it, but let's.
Well, no. So one of the categories I had was decorating the town. So you already referenced, like, you drive in, you see homemade signs. How about let's give a shout out to the cups in the chain link fence, right? Spelling out whatever.
I just thought of that when you were talking about like entrances.
Yes.
Like, yep.
So
the acronym of the high school written out in cups on the chain link fence.
Yep.
Yes.
Rock Ridge is always big for that one.
Balloons, streamers.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, some of those tradition-rich towns like Geneseo, Aledo, if you go on a playoff day at Anawan Weathersfield, Newman, certainly in Sterling or Newman.
Yep.
You start going through, you show up on a Saturday and it's different, and it feels amazing. Mitch, you mentioned Saturdays when they're a little overcast. I got to be honest, when I shoot video, if it's like slightly overcast, not like fully blaring sun, I'm kind of all in, because that video is going to look amazing. You know, the sun is one thing, but if it's that cool kind of overcast day, that leads to some really good visuals. So I'm kind of in for that.
Yeah, and sometimes you get the rain. It just adds another element to it. We talked about it with Logan's example of trucks being lined up on a Monday or a Tuesday. Like that doesn't happen everywhere. Like if you're going to a playoff game, you better get there early if you want to get a parking spot. From a player's perspective, like I remember getting like playoff footballs from the IHSA, and it's like, well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of little trinkets like that, and again, like the shirts, the designs, like
that was a whole category.
A very popular segment of our playoff coverage is show us the shirts. And I am so happy that has taken off over the years.
Yeah.
Because I love seeing them, even if they're generic, look the same as maybe a couple other schools. I don't care. If you have an awesome postseason slogan, if you got a cool design on your shirt, like in the end, it doesn't matter because I just want to see it. But the feeling of walking into a game, like I said, with stakes being no higher, and as the clock starts to wind down and the teams aren't on the field yet, and it's building, right? It's building in the crowd, and everyone's just getting antsy, and then all of a sudden the teams come out, and it is go time. Like playoff football is so special, and that's why we have held that near and dear to our hearts on this show in terms of getting to that point. And again, the other side of that coin now is that more communities get to experience that, and that is a good thing. That is a very good thing that is going to happen, because I think every community should get to taste that as much as they should. So I could ramble. I probably would have to, but anyone who's listening to the show knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And so I don't think any explanation is needed, because it's just a feeling that you have when you're there on a Saturday at a huge game in the playoffs, in the postseason.
Yeah, I think you sum it up beautifully. And I immediately, as you're going through describing it, I recall last year, Lena Winslow at Stockton on a Saturday in the state semifinals. It's two conference rivals meeting up for a chance to go to state. Like it's all there. It's all of the drama that you want in in any athletic event, let alone in high school and whatever it is. Mitch, I had playoff t-shirts as its own category. So, I mean, let's just loop it right in here.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, we started that a couple years ago just as a fun thing, and now it's one of my favorite things that we do come postseason time is to get to, and I think everyone's getting on board with that. So the hashtag is quickly trending that time of year. So we like that.
I love it. And like you said, without getting into all of the logistics of the new season and what it looks like, there will be some more teams that have that game. And whether they're 3-6, 4-5, whatever they are, like they're in, and they'll get some version of that atmosphere. So that at face value is a good thing. We'll take that. We emphasize the positives here on View from the West podcast, and that
sometimes we do. Sometimes we do.
I'd say for the most part we do. So, all right, Mitch, I can't top that. I can't top playoff Saturdays. I'm going with that. That's I'm equaling you. So we'll say we end with 13. That's our final count, but maybe 14 will be maybe some honorable mentions. We'll get some things that weren't brought up yet, and they were kind of brought up in different ways. We talked about atmosphere. I will say when you talk about cheerleaders and football players, let's talk about, and we talked about band independently of this in the atmospheres, but what about when football players or cheerleaders are in the band at halftime? I love that visual. I absolutely love that visual.
Yeah, they take off the helmets and pick up the tuba, and then a quick couple minutes, and they got to run off to the locker room. Yeah, no, you're right on track with that.
Yeah, I encourage my kids to be involved in as much as they can, and it always sticks out to me to know, like, that's a well-rounded student athlete. They're getting all aspects of it, whether they're cheerleaders and then they run out and play in the band, or they're football players and they run out and play in the band. It's cool. You see it more on the small school level, but it trickles in here and there, and you got to always kind of look for it. Mitch, anything else that you have that honorable mentions here?
No, I didn't. So I think you had a couple of extra ones. So I'm going through my list, and I think we covered it all.
Now this one,
this is your time to shine, because I ran out of my list.
All right, this one is kind of general to football in any level, but Mitch, I can't believe you did not bring up pride stickers just once on this episode.
Well, okay, that's fair.
I mean, you love it in all aspects of football, but you really love it in high school.
Well, you see it more in high school.
Sure.
No, that's absolutely fair. I do love a good pride sticker. I love it when it's unique to the school. Like if it's football and crossbones, like that's fine. Like no problem, because it's a pride sticker and I love it. But like, when we were gifted some from the Sting Squad at State.
Yeah.
And one of theirs is the wing of the wing helmet, and the other one I think says Sting Squad. Like, that's cool.
Yep.
That's unique. And just to see a helmet that is just covered in pride stickers, you can't even tell what the design of the helmet is anymore because they're covered in so many. I'm a sucker for that stuff. So no, good call, good pull on pride stickers.
Yep. A couple more. I'll kind of loop all these together when it comes to like player performance type things. There's three things. So I love an unlikely hero. And I immediately think of Josh McDearman kicking a game-winning field goal for Morrison at Princeton. At the time, it was huge. I mean, no expectation, very little expectation of Morrison going on the road, winning that game. He's a freshman who steps in and is trusted to make that kick and drills it. Like, that was a really cool story. He was our player of the week that week. I love that one. You keep with kickers, Johnny Gibbs from Farmington. Yep. Coach Vallis said they didn't try many field goals. Well, Coach Vallis said he didn't think he had ever called a field goal. He was proven wrong in the history of his coaching, but he didn't call very many of them. And Johnny Gibbs stepped in for Farmington, and that became a clutch. That became the go-ahead points that won the game for them there in their playoff win over EPC last year. So there's a couple. It doesn't have to be kickers, but those are two that come to mind.
Well, how about Geneseo? With the clutch, Carson Peters with the clutch.
Peters, great call, yeah.
We you know what, in this area we gotta, when we do previews, I'm gonna highlight the kickers a little more, because we have some very good ones, some ranked kids that are just phenomenal in the special teams unit. So we gotta give a shout to the kickers more often.
I think we have a kid from Rock Island who who's been tweeting at us, and Carson Peters has been sharing his stuff as well. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, so unlikely heroes. This kind of transcends to other levels of football as well. Mitch, we love a good big man touchdown.
Of course.
So go ahead.
Yeah, whether it's designed, I prefer it when it's not.
Yes.
I like this the randomness of a fumble recovery or a blocked punt or a seemingly impossible like pick six. Like, love it.
I know that a few years ago, Kiwani was up on Mendota, and they did a designed like goal line type play. This is an old reference, a really old reference to our student athletes listening, but William Refrigerator Perry style, putting in a lineman to run it in. I know that they did it once. Kiwani did. That's fun. But like you said, kind of the unexpected ones are really the fun. That's where the real gold is. And one more from a player performance aspect. I love when a player scores in 3 different ways all in the same game. So last year, we had Nick Houston run in a touchdown. He passed for a touchdown as the running back. He threw a touchdown pass, and he had a receiving touchdown as well. So that's the one we had last year. A few years before that, Brock Soltow from Polo did it. Maybe twice. He might have done it like twice in a year.
That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar like he did.
Yeah. So that's always fun to me, right? And that always goes back to like when I would play college football video games, trying to make that happen, like just get the ultimate stat compiler. So
right. Yeah. You get a punt return, a kick return, receiving. That's probably, Owen Voorhees probably did that 5 times. But
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Scoring in a variety of ways. We do like that.
Yep. I think that's all I got. Those were a few extra honorable mentions there, but here we go. Let's go through the list. We'll put up the scoreboard, the final tally. We had concession stands as one of our favorite things. We had pork chops as a great segue in there as one of our favorite things. The Friday night media frenzy is, of course, a thing we love about high school football. Friday night main event, so the community atmosphere, which leads right into Mitch's atmosphere. The community atmosphere. I love that you talk about your PA announcer is your mailman. Like, you just have these, like, local connections. And I always go back to when you're talking about the atmosphere of a game or the community, like how did our boys do tonight, right? That kind of phrase, that type of mentality. How did our boys look on the field tonight? That just speaks to me for high school football.
Yeah, like people, like I envision old guys drinking coffee at a gas station on a Saturday morning, like who haven't read the paper yet. Yeah. Like, oh, how was the game? Like, perfect.
True story. Can't make this up. I was leaving a Stockton playoff game. I pulled into the Casey's gas station. I'm filling up. And the guy you're just describing right there peeks his head around the gas pump and says, and I quote, "How the boys look today?" Because he saw my station car sitting there, and it was awesome. It's such a cool thing. So
or as the story that we've told before, Brian Stocking calling local bars to see what the final scores of games were.
Yes,
they knew.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So we also discussed unique fields that make the high school football viewing experience something special. Mitch, you called out homecomings. I love that one. Homecomings hit a little different on the high school level, as spoken by you and your attendance at either high school or college homecomings. Fan seating and the very unique ways, ways they can take in a game, the vantage points that come from high school football. Of course, local broadcasts. We love communicating. We love hearing from our local broadcasters. We love listening to those local broadcasts, whether it's live streaming or on radio. We eat that stuff up. Of course, rivalry trophies make high school football better. That's the public service announcement we will continue to put out there. We have the purity of high school football. Mitch, this is when you really got deep on us. This was really good stuff. I love it. We talked about team entrances, and then we get into playoff Saturdays. That's a really good list of the reasons why we love high school football.
Yeah, and I hope that we forgot something, because I hope that this conversation can continue in whether it exists in the social media world or just amongst friends or listeners of the show. Like, when this drops, comment on YouTube, send us a message on X of things that we missed. I know we did that preemptively before the episode, but I hope that I hope we forgot stuff, because I want to hear it from the perspectives of people who are in it now or had different perspective previously. So because we all experience this differently, right? If we asked 100 people what they like about high school football, we'd get probably 100 different answers. So I love this conversation. I love this idea for an episode. And again, I hope we hear more of what people love about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was fun to get the feedback. And like you said, if we get more feedback, that's even better, because this conversation is kind of endless, right? This is certainly not the definitive list. This is by no means official, but this is what we came up with in our first draft, our first go-around. So I think it's pretty good, though. I think it's pretty comprehensive, and I think it led to a lot of great conversations, a lot of great memories, and a lot of a lot of excitement building towards this high school football season. Mitch, in less than a week, we will be talking high school football previews, of course, starting with 8-man football and the NUIC. Yeah, just wild that in less than a week's time that we'll be dropping that episode. So looking forward to it, of course. It's a realization that we're here because we always talk about how it's closing in, we're getting there, a year before we know it. Well, now we're here. So we talk about the preview episodes, then we'll be talking about week one like tomorrow, essentially, is what it'll feel like. So, but looking forward to it. It's going to be an outstanding season. Looking forward to another season of coverage and some great football. And, of course, apologies to all of our loyal listeners who woke up on Tuesday morning and this was not in their feed. I will say, hopefully it's worth it. Hopefully it's worth it. Absolutely. And it seems fitting that we release this type of episode on a Friday, correct? Right. That seems much more fitting. So yeah, let's get the wheels turning. Let's go. I appreciate the patience from everybody. I will say, for being summer break, our family is chaotic right now. So trying to coordinate between the 4th of July holiday and everything else going on, and between Mitch, both of our schedules, we got here. So anyway, apologies for those people waiting for. We ruined Matt Sertich's Tuesday because, he was waiting to hear it. And he can deal with it. So deal with it, Matt Sertich. All right. That's right. There we go. Thank you so much to everyone who listens. Thank you so much to everyone who follows along. Of course, as my kids would say, like and subscribe to YouTube. Follow along. Follow us on X. Follow us on Instagram. We'll be back in less than a week with the preview of the Northwest Upstate Illini and 8-man football. We'll talk to you then.
That'll do it for this week's episode of View from the West. I encourage you to subscribe on YouTube and follow wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on X and Instagram to keep up to date on our latest news and content. You can also contact us through email, viewfromwestpod@gmail.com, to share stats, stories, or information. Thank you to everyone who listens and supports local football.